Good morning. Great to be at another Synergy conference. Are you excited about this couple of days? All right. Very good. Well, thanks, Terry. There was a lot of great information at the front end, a lot to remember, apparently, about what we have to do here at the conference. But we're all here to learn, and I want to thank you all for attending once again this year as well. I'm looking forward to chatting with you over the course of the next few days, seeing what you're doing in your practices, et cetera. I also want to congratulate our winners as well. This is something we're going to be doing every year, so if you want to participate, please let us know what types of things you're doing within your firm. Now, what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit of a different twist on what I've discussed in the past, some of the same flavor, but somewhat different. What I want to talk about this morning is about the new consumer and the accounting firm. And what I would like you to do in the course of my presentation is just to think about the types of things that have changed in the world and how we all as consumers have in fact changed subconsciously in many instances as to what we expect these days. What I'm going to do is cover a little bit of background on the accounting profession, how things are going with respect to overall growth. Then I'm going to talk about the adoption of technology that we're seeing in a survey that we do. Then I'm going to talk about some of the changes that in fact have occurred. And what I want you to focus on is just the last 4 or 5 years. What types of things have occurred that again have had us all change. So it's not as though we don't have enough challenges. We've got FATCA compliance, e-filing mandates, tax preparer regulation. We really don't know where that's going long term. Retiring boomers. Many of our firms, in fact, have partners, owners that may be retiring within the next few years, and we've got to replace them. We know we need new leadership in the profession. We've got tax laws expiring or possibly not. Unfortunately, I think we have one of the years like we did 2 years ago where we just don't know what's going to happen this year with respect to the changes, what's going to occur. We may not see anything finalized, obviously, until January, which wouldn't be a good thing. I think many of us remember 2 years ago was not a great tax season. The IRS actually has already announced that it's going to be a delayed season and it's going to be a difficult one. So welcome to the profession. We also have the Affordable Care Act, DOMA, the repeal of Section 3, which many of our clients, in fact, are impacted by that or need advice relative to that. But as I said, I think one of the things that we really need to think about as far as the challenge is concerned is how we keep up with today's consumer, our new clients, and what their attitudes are and how they feel about things. Practically overnight, the cloud, social, mobile, and a demand for clean, simple designs, which really is kind of a new concept these days, it's created massive changes in consumer behavior and expectations. Now, to remain relevant, we, just like any other business or profession, have to be aligned with today's consumer and today's world. If we get out of sync, it's when we're in trouble. I love this quote from Jack Welch. I used it several years ago at a conference because I think it's relevant to our business. I'm in the technology business, obviously. I think about this a lot. If the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. Doesn't matter what business or profession that we're talking about. If we don't keep pace, it isn't necessarily the firm of tomorrow, it's the firm of today that we have to maintain the pace with today's changes in technology. Now, there's some great things happening in the profession these days. We're actually feeling pretty darn good. We're seeing some good signs out there. As far as growth is concerned, the general accounting market is growing in terms of overall employment. I'll just give you one piece of data. By the way, I present a tremendous amount of data. If you've attended the conference before, you'll get a lot of information. I won't disappoint you today, or possibly I am disappointing you with the amount of data that I'll present. At any rate, let's take a look at accounting employment. So just one data point would be July of this year compared to July of last year. The number of people employed in CPA firms across the US grew by 2%. That's an incredible increase. This chart illustrates where we are relative to the recession. We're pretty much at the level of employment that we saw in pre-recessionary periods. And hopefully with new technology, we're far more efficient, able to actually do more work. But what this means is obviously we're graduating more accounting students, more kids are going into the accounting major. It's viewed as a very attractive place to be. As far as accounting firm growth, this is a chart that illustrates the Accounting Today's top 100 firms in terms of growth, revenue growth over the course of the last several years. And you can see if you just look at the right-hand side, the last 3 years have been very consistent at about an 8% overall growth. Things are good. They're back to normal, pre-recessionary periods. Another data point, probably many of you are familiar with the Rosenberg survey. Maybe many of you participated in it. Great survey, by the way, with tremendous amount of information with respect to metrics. You might want to compare your firm to how things are done in other firms across the U.S. The growth rate over the past year, 2013, was 6.7% overall revenue growth of firms that responded to this survey, up considerably from the prior year at 5.4%. Now this is the overall average. You do have to drill down a little bit to get a bit more understanding of how it relates to firm size. So you can see on this chart that firms of over 20 million in revenue actually grew very, very well, over 10%. You have to net out of this, by the way, there's a tremendous amount of mergers and acquisitions occurring in the profession these days, and the larger the firm, the more they're impacted by that. But if you took that out, the firms still grew at about 7.5%, the firms of that size. By the way, last year to get in the top 100 club, you had to be approximately 30 million in overall revenue. Now, as you go down in terms of firm size, you can see the growth rate drops somewhat. So you can see as an example, 2 million to 10 million at about 5.9%, and firms of less than 2 million in revenue overall grew about 3%. However, you can also see about a third of those firms, in fact, didn't grow at all. They may have dropped in revenue. Now, there may be several factors involved in this firm size issue. I think one of the issues, though, is that the larger the firm, the more they actively adapt to new technology. They jump on board with it very, very early, and they tend to utilize it a bit more than smaller firms might do. In addition, in some of the firms that are below 2 million in revenue, they may in fact not be doing things like value pricing, but they may not be getting revenue that in fact they probably could if they operated the firm a little bit differently. And in addition, I think the adoption of technology could help these firms grow faster. So we're feeling actually, as far as our overall growth, and I know here we have very progressive firms, which I'll talk about in just a couple of minutes, we're feeling pretty good about these trends, but are we staying relevant? Oftentimes, it's best to actually look at how you're doing things when things are going well, because if they're not going so well as they might have been in the recessionary period, you don't have time to look at your operations and make modifications to them. So there have been breathtaking changes in technology, but Sally, which is ingrained in our heads as accountants, same as last year, we tend to stick with what we've done. We've felt it's been successful. You can see the overall growth rates here. But I would state that we probably ought to really look at how we're operating our firms these days and really, again, adapting our practices to these new consumers. Again, I provide a great deal of data every single year, and I'm going to take a look at the UltraTax CS survey. The reason I look at this is it's our largest customer base. We have a large number of users on the UltraTax CS product. It's very broad-based. We have firms from sole practitioners on up to the very largest firms in the U.S., and there's no regional impact to it, and we get a great response rate. So we look at this as a barometer of where the profession is. We see different data from different surveys, but this is a good one for us. 39% of firms today that responded to the survey indicated that they didn't have a website. That's a bit of a surprising number to us. we would anticipate we'd have seen it a little bit higher. So again, on the UltraTax survey, and again, I want you to focus on just a couple of year period, 4 to 5 year period, 2010 to 2014, and I'm going to talk about consumer behavior during that period. And by the way, at the end of this, I'm going to wrap it all up with some demos as to how we feel we can better connect you to your end clients and the types of things that we're going to do. Now, mind you, I'm not able to illustrate everything that we've got. We've got workshops that will give you details about all the enhancements that we put in place this year, and we had a great development year. I think you're going to be very pleased with what you see as you sit through the workshops. So I'm just going to show you a small snapshot later on of what we've done to help you connect better to your clients. Another piece of data here is the percentage of firms using document management systems. In 2010, 53%, 2014, overall, 64%. Now, if you're going to get to a paperless office, obviously you've got to have a document management system in place. Document management systems have been in place for the accounting profession since the late 90s. Thomson-Reuters was a pioneer with respect to this with File Cabinet CS in 1999 and Go File Room in 2003, our two document management systems. This is a chart that I think you'll find interesting. I certainly do. This illustrates what's a dominant method, what's the predominant method that my firm uses to return tax returns back to my end clients. Again, looking at that same period, 2010 to 2014, you can see the large blue area, by the way, is paper. And the rust-colored and the green-colored are more electronic versions. And you can see in 1988 we had, in 2010 we had 88% returned to their clients the tax return by paper. This year we're still at 75% overall. The utilization of portals, which is really where the world is going, is still at about only a 10% level. Now, you obviously have to have a website, you have to have a paperless office document management system to get to that level. But we're at 75% paper. Now, again, I'm a little bit puzzled by this because I think about the way the world operates today. U.S. Postal Service is flat broke, been operating at a deficit for years. We don't read newspapers anymore. We get our news online. We probably do all of our banking online. We get our bank statements online. We get brokerage statements online. We get credit card statements online. We pay them all online. There's something apparently very unique about a tax return that we send it back in paper. I don't quite get the connection. By the way, if I insult anyone with my presentation this morning, I want to apologize up front. I don't mean any ill intent. I'm just trying to present the data to you as to where the profession is overall. If you looked at firms that had portals and utilized them for any clients, it does rise to about 33% overall, but 2/3 of the firms are not using portals at all for their clients. Cloud technology. We hear a lot about cloud technology these days. Lots of noise about it. In 2010, 5% of the firms indicated they were using any form of cloud technology. Now, the internet, in fact, if you counted ARPANET, is now 50 years old this year, as a matter of fact. 50 years old, we've had the web. Browsers have been available. It's the 20th anniversary of browsers. Online products have been available, in fact, since the mid to late 90s. We were pioneers in this area with Go System Tax in 1998, cloud-based product. The CS Professional Suite followed pretty quickly thereafter with our virtual office and SaaS product offerings. Go File Room again in 2003, an online offering, a web-based offering. The usage has tripled these days, but it's still, frankly, pretty low compared to where small businesses are. So we're at 16% today. Again, cloud-based products have been available since the late 90s. And actually, the yes response rate does rise if we include those that say we're likely or very likely to utilize cloud products in the course of the next 2 years. Now, the other thing I'll tell you is that we ask this question the same way every single year. Us accountants seem to be fairly conservative because we don't see the needle move every year relative to that response. All right, on the positive side, what types of things are firms doing out there? Well, first of all, 56% of firms say that they allow employees to log in via personal devices. A couple of years ago at conference, I indicated, look, consumers have entered your firm, and they may very well have started with our own people, in fact, wanting to bring their own personal devices to access our networks, primarily email, contacts, et cetera. We're also seeing a good usage of smartphones in accounting firms. In 2010, we saw about a third of the firms utilizing them. 2014, 74%. Now, probably most of your small business clients, in fact, are utilizing mobile technology across the board. So frankly, we believe this should be close to 100% in accounting firms. I'll give you a bit of trivia today. I'll occasionally do that in the course of the presentation this morning. If you look at 2010, those in fact were using smartphones. The iPhone was at 27% use. Mind you, Apple released the iPhone in 2007, the first version of it, so it really was coming into play here. There were smartphones prior to that, obviously BlackBerry. BlackBerry was at 54% use. And like the rest of the world, we're copying, we're following suit here. You can see the iPhone today at 54% use, and the BlackBerry at 4% use. Android is the remainder. And Windows, I'm occasionally asked, where's Windows? Where's Microsoft's offering there? That's at about the same level as BlackBerry. So the Android is in use quite prevalently in accounting professions. Now, I think there's some lessons here in that bit of trivia, which is BlackBerry obviously didn't think about how the world was changing. They stuck with their core beliefs for years to the point where it was too late. And it remains to be seen how long BlackBerry is going to be in existence. They didn't keep pace with today's world. There's a lesson in that for all of us. Now, the great news on the positive side, you're here with peers that in fact are adapting new technology at a much faster pace than the general marketplace. So I'm going to give you some information about that. While you're here, I just, as Terry indicated, would encourage you to talk to your peers during the breaks, at lunch, certainly during the roundtables. Talk about what types of things you're doing in your firms and how you're adapting new technology. You're with a great group of people today that get it, frankly. So let's look at some of this detail, drill down a little bit. Document management systems have gained fair acceptance, very good acceptance overall, 64%. I would argue it should be higher. Within this group, in fact, you're utilizing document management systems that we're aware of. We can only measure what we know at 72%. So 72% of you are using one of our document management systems, either File Cabinet CS or Go File Room. Probably it might be, as I said, we only know what we know here. The level might in fact be higher if you're, this is highly unlikely, I realize, but utilizing an inferior product of a competitor. So it's quite possible it might be a little bit higher. All right, now in the areas of electronic delivery and utilization of the cloud, we're seeing very significant differences between this group and the rest of the world. I mentioned just a minute ago, 33% of firms indicated in the general survey responses that they're utilizing portal technology for at least one client. 67% of you here are utilizing our portal technology for at least some of your clients. Using cloud technology, again, I've seen other surveys where accounting firms are utilizing cloud technology at a higher level, but the Ultratech survey, we believe, is very accurate in terms of a barometer of what's going on in the market. At 16%. This group is utilizing one of our online products, our cloud capabilities, either the Virtual Office or SaaS, Go System Tax RS, or Go File Room at 54%. So again, we believe that the attendees at today's conference really get it. Right now I'm going to shift gears a bit here, and we're going to talk about changes in just the last 4 or 5 years that have affected client behavior. And again, I want you just to reflect on your own personal experience as I go through this. Today we're much more connected. I used to hear from firms that their clients aren't on the web, they don't utilize the web, they're not utilizing cloud technology, they're concerned about client portals, utilizing our client versions of our accounting software and connecting directly to you. They're not that well connected. I'm going to give you some data here that hopefully gets us through that. Well, first of all, in 2010, the internet penetration in the US on an overall basis for adults, those over 18, was 77%. Today, use among US adults is 87%. 97% for those 18 to 29. I love this map. And what this map is a map of the globe where a firm, Shodan, went out and actually pinged every device connected to the web to see where around the world is the most connectivity. So what this illustrates, the hotter the color, the more connectivity there is. What this clearly illustrates is that in Europe and in the US, we're highly connected today, especially in the US on the East Coast and the Midwest and the Far West, a little less so because of the population size in the West, but we're connected here. By the way, I can provide you details as to how to actually do this on your own. If you'd like, you can draw your own map. However, your ISP may be a little bit upset about the amount of traffic to your firm or your residence. So don't try this at home. Couple of other pictures, not enough data on this. If we look at fixed broadband, again, we're seeing the same. This is a different company, Vox, that did this review, similar process to determine where we're connected. And again, you can see in North America in particular, we're very, very highly connected today. Not enough data on this. You need mobile broadband here as well. Slightly different picture where, and if you look at the percent indicators on the left-hand side, they're a little bit different than the prior illustration, only because the penetration level is in fact much higher on mobile broadband because we're a mobile world today. In the US, again, we're actually approaching pretty much 100% coverage of mobile broadband across the US. Right, in 2014, cost of bandwidth obviously also plays into this. Cost of bandwidth today is about 20% of what it was in 2010. So if you in fact are paying the same price you did in 2010, you need to talk to your provider, or you need to be ensured that you're getting more bandwidth for the same money that you're paying. By the way, the cost of bandwidth today compared to 1999 is about 1.2% of what we paid back then. So cost of bandwidth has gone down. We're all connected. Today, I think, is the bottom line. Today, we're much more mobile and social. No question about that. And that matters in terms of how you think about connecting to your clients and servicing, collaborating with your clients. Now, the iPad was released in 2010, created a new type of device, obviously the tablet, adding to the mobile movement, adding to the smartphone movement. Today, in the US, there are 106 million tablets in use today. Think about how you're interacting with your clients, not only on smartphones, but on tablets as well. Are you utilizing NetClient mobile, where your clients are able to access their portal through a mobile device? Another piece of data, as I said, I don't provide enough information, I realize that, but accounting firms also on the survey responses indicated a good deal of activity and utilization of the iPad in their practices in the years 2011, 2012, and 2013. But we in fact started to see it stabilize at about 25% overall, because I think for accountants, in fact, we need a little bit more real estate. We need a different type of device to utilize in our firm, so that the iPad didn't necessarily do it for us. We're seeing accounting firms move to other types of hybrid devices, like the Lenovo Yoga, and like Microsoft's Surface Pro, where you have a complete operating system on the device as well as it being a tablet. Hybrid devices where we can get more work done. The number of smartphones in the US, tremendous increase as one would expect. 63 million in 2010. In 2014, 164 million. By the way, about 1 billion smartphones were sold in 2013. So obviously, we're seeing rapid growth in that area. The number of apps in the App Store. In 2010, about 300,000, 1.3 million apps in the App Store today. Probably many of you feel there's at least 30 or 40 that might be useful for your firm. That's our mindset today, by the way, as consumers. We look at something, we toss it away if it's not quite exactly what we're looking for in terms of an app. We've changed. As we look at mobile versus desktop across the world, these are global numbers. And in fact, in December of 2013, in the world, there were about 743 million desktop PCs in use. Mobile, far larger than that. We're a mobile society. Laptops, which I would include in this category today because of the wireless connectivity they have, which is a little different than the old days. Tablets growing dramatically, and smartphones as well. So as far as mobile versus desktop, we're really seeing 21% desktop. Devices connected to the web, mobile devices connected to the web are 79% of the overall market. I'll give you 1 year data. Web usage overall, the amount of traffic on the web in 2013 that was mobile was about 11%. In 2014, 19%. It's a mobile world. Let's think about how we're connecting to our clients. US population using social networks. We know this has dramatically changed. 2010, 47% of the population. 2014, 74%. We're utilizing social networks. How are you operating your firm with respect to utilizing some of these social tools and recognizing that your reputation is out there all the time? Get a negative comment on Yelp, it impacts your firm. So think about that. Be aware of it. All right, this is the interactive part, okay? Can anybody tell me what these icons are? Just shout it out. What do you see here? Icons for Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest. Does anyone know what the lower right is? Tinder. Uh-oh, you should not know that answer. I'm sorry. Tinder is a matchmaking service. And the reason I say you have to be careful here, because the younger generation views it as what I would refer to as a very active matchmaking service. If you know anyone in the younger generation, college years, they'll shake their head if you know Tinder, by the way. All right, so these just came into existence just in the last 4 years, but we know most of them, at least 3 out of the 4, we know very well. Think about the fact that we're totally aware of this. They just started within the last 4 years. Instagram, acquired by Facebook. The reason Facebook acquired Instagram was that Facebook was losing the younger generation, and they needed to acquire some products or apps that the younger generation was active in. Oftentimes at conference, I do talk about my kids. It's just my release, if you will. It helps me out emotionally to at least chat about them. But I have 2 older sons, one 17, one 22. I have 8-year-old twins, by the way, which is why you're probably going to see me here for a long time at conference. And it's a release to be here. I'd much rather be here in front of all of you than at home dealing with Luke and Amanda, the twins. Just kidding, love them to death. But at any rate, the older boys, neither one of them uses Facebook at all. It's just not cool these days. They need to utilize some other connectivity social network. So they're using Instagram, Snapchat, various other social networks to communicate. How fast are things changing out there, really? Most of these items on the screen here, most of these companies on the screen here, in fact, are text messaging services. So you can see, I'll just point out, Snapchat is on here. You can see the number of messages per day. Remember, this company didn't exist 5 years ago. 1.2 billion messages per day. WhatsApp, which is a little bit older than that, they actually started about 6 years ago, but really no one knew about them until 3 or 4 years ago. WhatsApp, we've got 50 billion messages per day, almost 200% year-over-year increase in usage. We are very, very social today. By the way, does anybody know what Facebook paid in February for WhatsApp? Anyone hazard a guess? $3 billion. Okay, $22 billion Facebook paid all in for WhatsApp. Take a wild guess as what the revenue was of WhatsApp at the time. By the way, the revenue of Instagram was 0 when Facebook acquired it for $1 billion. WhatsApp, their revenue, when Facebook decided to acquire them for $22 billion, was $10 million. We're in the wrong profession, folks. I totally get that. Point is, things are changing out there at a pace that we just can't even necessarily comprehend. Population on social media is increasing at a very rapid rate. Google+, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, we know all of these now. They're part of our daily routines. Probably many of you are using these. So this new consumer, there are people out there that are addicted to mobile and social. They're very much connected to their mobile devices. They're passionate and out there in the cloud and using these social networks, they're always stating their views. Be mindful of that. Here's another group of services that in fact came into existence just in the last 4 years. We talk about a movement to the cloud. These are cloud storage areas, synchronization tools that probably many of you are using even in your own practice. There were other players out there, by the way, prior to this. Microsoft actually has done very well with respect to their cloud services. SkyDrive, now called OneDrive, has been out there for a number of years. You're all familiar, I'm sure, with Dropbox and Box and other services. But what you started to see just in the last couple of years, all of these services started, by the way, in 2011. So it didn't exist prior to that. But you've seen some of the really big players here, Google, Apple, and Amazon, get into these cloud-based services. Amazon had other types of services, but not storage, synchronization capabilities, et cetera, until 2011. They just started then, and you're probably all very familiar with them. Subconsciously, we're changing. The overall forecast I'd give you, continued cloudy. We're going to continue to move to the cloud, and we're seeing it happen very, very rapidly. Now remember, I stated accounting firm usage of cloud-based services was at about 16% based on our survey. There might be a little bit of a disconnect with respect to small businesses, our clients. So small businesses, this was a survey done by Microsoft. I've seen surveys much higher than this, but small business use of the cloud, based on that survey, was at 30%. In fact, I've seen surveys at 37%. I saw a survey by Deloitte which indicated that almost every small business is in fact utilizing at least one cloud-based service. Think about how you're communicating with your clients. If they're moving to the cloud, they may not comprehend that you're not, and they're also recognizing that there are capabilities out there, such as what we have with our products, to connect you directly, real time, to their accounting system. We asked another question on a different survey we have, the Accounting CS survey. How likely is it that a majority of your business clients will implement a cloud version of their small business accounting software? Slightly different question, it's very direct. Small business accounting software was within the next 2 years. Now I'm sure they understand their client base, however, it's surprising how they responded to this. The response of unlikely or very unlikely was at 70%. Now remember, we know small businesses are utilizing cloud technology. May not necessarily be our client, but believe me, small businesses, you all know this, talk to each other about what types of tools they're using. So just be aware of the potential of an issue there if you're not utilizing cloud technologies to the same level. So Deloitte survey done, a report completed just this year, by the way, indicated that small businesses that use more than 2 types of cloud services, could be anything, could be their accounting system, could be Office 365, could be any other tool, grow 26% faster and are 21% more profitable than those that don't. I think 2 points out of this. First of all, as you're consulting with your small businesses, you want to be advising them to utilize some of these cloud services. They may be using Google Drive, et cetera, various other tools out there that are making them more profitable. And the other thing to think about, and many accounting firms really would fall into the classification of small businesses, and you might want to be thinking about what's your adoption rate within your own firm of cloud-based technologies. So on top of the cloud in general, social and mobile, now we're talking about connecting a wide range of devices. If you've heard me speak in the past, you've heard me talk about technical cycles that have occurred over the last 50 years, about every 10 years, and each one is about 10 times larger than the previous one in terms of the amount of users or connectivity, which is where we are today. We're on the right-hand side here, obviously, and we're in what's referred to as the mobile web phase today. We've gone from the desktop web to the mobile web. It really was driven by Apple's release of the iPhone starting in 2007. We started to see this really accelerate. Tablets now starting in 2010, and now we're into the wearable devices, smartwatches. A number of other things that are out there today. The reason I tell you this is that another survey recently completed on the Internet of Things, that's what we talk about today, 46% of small and medium-sized businesses thought the Internet of Things would be the greatest impact, would have the greatest impact on their business of any change out there over the course of the next 5 years. We're connecting everything to everything today. And to give you an idea, again, in a similar time period, in 2010, the number of shipments of devices that had what are referred to as sensors, MEMs is actually the technical term that's used, microelectronic mechanical systems, the number of those which are as I said, sensors. So as an example, smartphone has anywhere between 3 and 15 sensors on it, which is able to connect to the web through the device. What we're getting into is, in fact, big data, and the amount of information that is being captured today based on these sensors is absolutely tremendous. So a smartphone may have things like, obviously it has an accelerator measurer to be able to tell how fast you're physically moving with your smartphone, a pedometer, which is if you're using one of these devices that counts the number of steps and connects to your smartphone, there's that sensor, a fingerprint sensor, a barometer, temperatures, could have a wide range. Some smartphones have, as I mentioned, up to 15 of these sensors. So believe me, you're being measured on literally everything today. And by the way, the pedometer thing, it's very hard to use with the wheelchair. It doesn't quite work the same way. But at any rate, I was mentioning the number of sensors that are shipped, these MEMs that are shipped. In 2010, we shipped approximately 2.785 billion of these sensors in that year. Today, well actually last year, 2013, that's the latest data that I've seen, we shipped 8 billion of these sensors on various devices. By the way, I mentioned 1 million smartphones, 6 billion out of that 8 are in fact in smartphones. So your accountants just do the math, approximately 6 is the average on a smartphone today. Just a bit of trivia out there, a little bit of data on connectivity. Does anyone know what this term means? Anyone heard it before? All right, let me help you out here a little bit. No mobile phobia is the term. Psychologists actually are trying to get this classified as a disease, as an addiction today, okay? This is a just intense fear of being away from my mobile device or being unable to connect to the web. We feel this. Again, what I'm talking about is just some things that are occurring in all of us that impact our daily lives. This is an actual picture, not staged. This is young people at an event, college event. 63% of people check their smartphones once an hour. 9% of people check their phones every single 5 minutes. Believe me, your clients know you're connected, and I'm sure you get this. We like to disconnect from work and have balance. But you know what? They know if they send you a text, you're getting it and you're looking at it. All right? We have to think about how we manage our firms through that process. And 64% of people between the ages of 18 and 29 have fallen asleep with their tablet or cell phone in bed with them. You may know somebody like this, maybe you, that's literally attached to it when you fall asleep. I actually watch my wife when she gets a text message in the middle of the night. She just kind of pops up and I'm, by the way, she's not totally awake. The only one that wakes up is me when this goes off. But at any rate, we probably know people like this. 50% of adults today sleep with their smartphones. This is the way of the world today. You're constantly connected. All right, is this really a generational issue today? Is that what it's all about? And I would say no. It's very, very different today. This illustrates, by the way, U.S. population based on, people may classify it in slightly different buckets, but the various generations. And I mentioned the boomers. It's a very large group, and again, things that we're thinking about with respect to the leadership of our own firms is replacing the boomers as they retire. The boomer echo is referred to as the millennial group, which is quite large. We're starting to see these people move into leadership roles in our firms. And they are, by the way, we hear a lot about the millennials being different, being very different than the previous generations, which they are. Their habits are a little bit different. We have to adjust to them. By the way, I know there are a lot of golfers out here, right? A lot of accountants play golf. How many of you are millennials in the room? You're in this age category, 18 to 33. Okay, how many of you play golf? All right, not quite as many. I will tell you, millennials don't play golf. They do not play golf. You've probably heard a lot about this, but you know, country clubs are in very rough shape now, and they're trying to relate a little bit better to millennials. The reason millennials don't play a lot of golf is, to them, you know, they might like you, but I'm only going to be with three other people, and you've got me locked up for 4 hours with you, and I'm social. I'm sorry. And if you're at a fancy country club, I can't use my smartphone out here. Someone will toss me out. They just don't play golf anymore. It's very interesting. At any rate, it's not just about a generational issue today. Digital natives and a new consumer are obviously related, but they're not quite the same. 38% of children, if you attended last year, I gave you this data, so actually it's probably a little bit different and a little bit more of younger kids adapting to mobile devices at very, very young age. 38% of children under the age of 2 have used a mobile device. By the age of 8, more than 72% of children have used a mobile device. I mentioned I have 8-year-old twins, Luke and Amanda. Luke is very much into his mobile device. Now, I think I'm pretty good with technology. Hopefully I am. It's what I do for a living. I will tell you that on occasion, this has happened until I straighten the kid out, but at any rate, where Luke would see me using my smartphone and go to me, Dad, you know, there's a better way to do that if you want me to show you. Thanks very much, Luke. I appreciate that. All right, so it's not just the young. It's every generation today. The fastest growing demographic on Facebook and Google Plus at 46%, 56% respectively is the age group of 45 to 54 years old. If we look at that percentage that use the web, remember I gave you an overall percentage at quite a high level there. It's been a dramatic change in just the last 4 years. And we'll drill down here a little bit. We knew the young were always very heavy users. That 18 to 29 age group, 86% in 2010, 97% today. But the other generations also very much in tune with the use of the web. The 30 to 49 age group, 78% now, dramatic increase in just those couple of years. The 50 to 64 year group up to 65% overall now, and 65 plus at almost 50% were utilizing the web. The more important statistic here probably for you is not actually shown here, and that is that US adults with incomes over $75,000 a year, in fact, the internet usage is over 99%. Everyone is using the web today. The new consumer is made up of all generations. There's no difference. They're always clicking, they're constantly connected, they're social, they're collaborative, and they're very impatient now. Subconsciously, this has occurred based on what we're able to do today. They're also visual. A client experience or a user experience is no longer tolerated today. And believe me, we understand this. We also understand that technology that we provide you, like portals, is going to be the image that your clients get of you, and we need to deliver on that by delivering just an absolutely great client experience based on the technology that we build. Overall expectations are much higher because of other tools we've seen just in the last four or 5 years. Again, cloud, mobile, social, this demand for clean designs have created very significant changes in behavior, our own behavior, and what our expectations are. So these new consumers, they're your clients, your prospective clients, they're your employees and your prospective employees, and they are you. Think about how you operate in your daily life today. How many times, I realize you all have relationships with bankers, but how many times do you personally actually physically go to a bank these days? When you are looking to acquire a new vehicle, you've probably done a tremendous amount of research on the web. You're using portals possibly for your physician. You may be filling prescriptions through actually a portal, and you're utilizing them everywhere, and you're utilizing apps. So these new consumers are you, your prospective clients, your employees, your prospective employees. If you want one of those recent graduates to come to work for your firm, they're probably going to want to know where you are with respect to technology for two reasons. Number one, they want to use it. Number two, they're thinking about where's the firm going to go down the road. So they're you. What I would ask you is, how is your firm accommodating this new consumer? Client experience matters today more than ever before because of the things that we've seen. We know that our clients, they want more than just after the fact reporting and compliance work. There's a lot of things that our clients could in fact be doing on their own. Anybody can produce a financial statement or do a tax return, but what kind of additional services are you providing to your clients? They want advice, they want assistance in truly driving their overall business and their financial results. They want to be connected to you and understand that you're elevating their financial position by being with you. They also want things now, convenient, simple, and with great design. Consumers want things now. Give you an example here. Same-day delivery is a big thing these days. We want things just instantly. Google, Amazon, eBay, even Uber with some of their offerings are getting into other areas that are in fact quite unique today. Millennials will pay, affluent millennials, those with over $75,000 in income, say they would pay to use same-day delivery service. They want it. They want it now, instantly. Think about this as far as how it relates to your practice. Why is Amazon.com getting into drones? Because people want things immediately. It takes, by the way, the total of 15 minutes by the time that you click on buy at Amazon till your product reaches the loading dock there, 15 minutes. Now, if they can get it out on the road and delivered that same day, that's attractive to people today. And by the way, this same group says that they wouldn't even consider an online shopping experience without same-day delivery down the road. This is what people are looking for. We want things convenient today. Payments is a hot topic area. I think Apple made some significant announcements back in September. Probably one of the biggest was Apple Pay. They really are changing the game. Finally, they're using near-field communication. It's going to change how payments are made today. They lined up everybody that they could. They lined up the 11 biggest US card issuers representing 83% of the market. So they've got everybody on board with it. We hear a lot of noise about this, by the way. I'm sure all of you have seen the press these days. The Merchant Exchange Group, which is a group that's on board with what's referred to as currency, which is a different technology. This is why they're resisting Apple Pay. The small matter of $48 billion they pay to credit card companies, but they want to eliminate that, so they've gone on board with this different technology. And the fact of the matter is, it's not easy to use. It's not out there yet, first of all. Apple Pay, Apple got it with Apple Pay because they're Apple. They understand convenience and ease of use. How many of you have an Apple 6 or iPhone 6? Great. How many of you have used Apple Pay? All right, you understand the experience then. It is simply touch the fingerprint sensor, wave it near the wireless device, and bang. The merchant does not have your credit card number, can't see it. Totally secure. You've got the fingerprint there, and the merchant gets absolutely no data from you as a result of that exchange. If you in fact have used Apple Pay and you start thinking about some of these other companies, CVS, Rite Aid, Best Buy, Walgreens, others refusing to accept Apple Pay, when in fact it's able to be used on their devices today. By the way, if you have an you have an iPhone 6 and you've not tested it out, it works in the vending machines here at the hotel. So if you're interested in testing it, it does work here because it's pretty straightforward technology, near field communication. But again, Apple got it. I think Apple is going to win this situation long term. If I were at PayPal or Square, I'd be very concerned about where we're going long term, and you're going to see a lot of noise about this. By the way, there's a device that's being developed that will accept a wide range of payment capabilities called Point. If you're advising retail clients as to what to get into, it's developed by the ex-senior engineer from PayPal, by the way, has developed this. All right, we want it simple, and design is essential. Why is design essential these days? We all use smartphones as consumers. Smartphone users choose apps based on the design of the app. There are many that do similar things, and we toss them out if we don't like the way that it's designed. We're making intuitive decisions based on mobile design and then taking those attitudes into our workplace. We do that consistently. We may not even be aware of it, but because of these new designs, we're impacted by it. I'll give you a couple of examples. How many of you own a Tesla? Okay, my wife wants a Tesla, all right? Luckily, to get me off the hook, I live in the state of Michigan, so it's going to be a while before Tesla is selling vehicles in Michigan. Great things about design, but what I just want to show you here is that as far as the display, it is very interesting. 17-inch monitor in the dashboard, very clean, very easy to use. This is what I'm talking about in terms of design. Thermostats. Okay, probably many of us are familiar with this particular thermostat. It's in, I don't know, 100 million buildings. It was invented, started to be sold in 1953, and still, in fact, being installed in many buildings today. What did Honeywell do and others? They decided to get more elaborate. We introduce a digital version, and all of a sudden, it becomes much harder to use. We want simple today. 2 ex-Apple engineers go off, start a company, And it looks very similar, doesn't it, to that old design? Because it's simple, straightforward, easy to use, and then they added the technology to it. It has sensors in it. It's a great example of an Internet of Things device. It's smart, connected to your smartphone. You're connected to your thermostat all the time, and it learns from it. It's wireless, connected to your wireless network. A tremendous device. This is what I'm talking about in terms of simplicity. Uber. How many of you use Uber? Probably a good number of you. All right. Great service. And again, we think about this with respect to our own attitudes toward design. Easy to use. Go out there, it's got your credit card on file. Driver's there almost instantly. 2 or 3 minutes typically, depending on the city that you're in. You know what you pay for. You're not dealing with cash. It's got your credit card, and the driver connects with you during that same period. By the way, I was with my son, Luke, my 8-year-old. We were in Los Angeles, and we happened to be at a hotel near one of the beach communities, so a little more difficult actually to get a cab there. So I contact Uber. They come out. Luke and I are riding in the car, a nice clean vehicle, polite driver, actually can talk, the whole works. And Luke said to me, Dad, this is really cool that we're able to do this just with your smartphone. We're able to connect with it. And I said, Luke, wait till you hear this. I said, this is really cool. I said, Uber is actually experimenting now, and what they have is a service. It's in 7 cities, by the way, that allows you to call your ice cream truck to your home, okay? You want to see an 8-year-old's eyes light up. Dad. I said, Luke, it'd probably be a while before they get out to Dexter, Michigan. And the kid being what he is, he said, you know what, Dad, maybe if we use it a lot, we'll get somebody that will be willing to use it. One other, if you go back one more, if you would. One other example, how many of you are in New York City? A couple people in New York City, probably, all right, one of our users in New York City, that's great. You probably have a place in the Hamptons then, right? No? Who are you kidding? You're not going to fool all these people here. You're a Thomson-Reuters customer. You live in New York City. You obviously have a place in the Hamptons based on what you save on our efficiencies with our software. At any rate, Uber now has a service called Uber Chopper, which will allow you to summon Uber. It's a taxi helicopter service to get you from in the city to your place in the Hamptons. So you might want to look into that. All right. Waze, by the way, Uber just started in the last few years. You're probably aware of that. Waze is slightly longer than that, but no one really aware of it. Tremendous service. How many of you use Waze? Okay. 2 things they added to GPS that I think is incredible. One is the report capability, so you can tell where there's traffic jam, police, accident, hazard. It's got the social aspect to it, so you're indicating what is occurring where, and telling other people about where things are happening. Now, the social aspects might scare some of you. You go, well, I don't know if I want to. Somebody's obviously texting, communicating so that we can know where all this stuff is. It actually is very, very smart. And what they do is they have a capability to either tap on your smartphone and then voice activation, wave, or 2 or 3-finger touch to activate it. They decided to stay away from a 1-finger wave with all the road rage out there. Things might be misinterpreted as to what exactly was occurring here. But what this does is it learns as well. So it has all the Wazers providing information. It knows how fast you're going because remember, it's got that sensor on your smartphone. Connects to that and actually is smart enough to tell you need to take another route. So incredible what this product, in fact, does. Again, brand new technology. All right, we may do it ourselves. As we think about self-service, again, think about your practice and how well connected you are to your client because there's a lot going on out there. It's very different. Legal services, wealth management, banking, a host of other things that can be done differently today. We know where self-prepared returns have gone. We need to be connected to our clients on a year-round basis, not just be an annual event where, come on in, you've got your appointment. Through April 19th, professionally prepared returns were up less than 1%. Self-prepared returns up 6.5%. On the legal front, companies like Law Depot, Legal Street, LegalZoom, Rocket Lawyer, they've actually been out there for a while, these services where they're providing legal services through the web. They're really hybrid type things where you can do some things for free, other things you pay for. By the way, we're going to illustrate a product in a few minutes here that allows you to utilize some of these capabilities, better serve your end clients, and better have documentation within your firm. On the wealth management front, lots of activity out there. Betterment, Future Advisor, GemStep, Market Riders, Personal Capital, Wealthfront. You may not know these terms today, but these are companies that have all started within the last 4 years that are, in fact, providing wealth management services. With your wealth management practice, make sure you are connected on a regular basis with your clients because they do have some of these other options. Cash flow. This is a hot area. Maybe you've heard about this probably in your practices, but we're seeing a lot of firms, a lot of companies crop up that didn't exist, by the way, 18 months ago, didn't exist. This is where if you have a client that in fact has a seasonal type business where cash coming in varies depending upon the time of year, you can get a line of credit or a loan based on their receivables. So companies like Fundbox, Biz2Credit, Fundation, Fundera, Cabbage, Dealstruck, Funding Circle, all started within the last 18 months. All right, so this digital consumer, your clients, always clicking, always connected, community-oriented, and patient, have a lot higher expectations. Now, are we accountants keeping pace with all of this? Or are we, in fact, operating with the same methods that we have in the past, where, again, we might very well be out of sync if those methods conform to a world that really no longer exists? At Thomson-Reuters, we believe we can help in this process. So we're going to take a look. This is the best part of the presentation every year. This allows me to illustrate some of our technology and show you what types of things we've done. This is the fun part. And what we're going to do in our illustration, we're going to be an accountant in a firm, Jon Baron, partner, serving a client, Alpha Promotions, with the owner of the business, Rodney Miller. And we're going to walk through some of our technology, either being released or in the planning stages for a subsequent year. Now, through an analysis of the business, you've recommended to Rodney Alpha Promotions Incorporate. So Rodney needs to complete legal documentation, including the articles of incorporation. You're going to make these documents available through NetClient CS. This is an offering that we will have in pilot very shortly. You'll be able to see in the Innovation Lab, by the way. Be sure to visit the Innovation Lab. And it will be released commercially at some point next year on a broad basis. So I'm going to illustrate this with you now, so see how simple this is.
As your client, Rodney Miller, enjoys a morning cup of coffee, he decides to complete the articles of incorporation you've made available to him through NetClient CS. Using an easy-to-follow wizard, the process is made simple for Rodney, and within a few minutes he has everything done. You've helped Rodney get access to these important legal documents conveniently from his home, and without the added expense or time commitment of working through a lawyer.
This is Legal and Business Forms powered by Legal Street, the offering we have now. I understand you all have relationships with law firms, and there are times when you need the advice of an attorney. This is a very simple situation where all the client needs to do is fill out a form. I'm going to walk through this with you a little bit more slowly. I realize that video went by very fast, but you can see Rodney was able to do it on a mobile basis. All right, our firm uses NetClient. So we have branded to our own firm the portal that Rodney can go into. And we've told Rodney, go to the left-hand side and select Legal and Business Forms. Once Rodney selects that, he's able to see a master list of forms available to him. And by the way, we'll provide a complete list. If you want to customize it, scale it back, only provide certain things, we'll allow you to do that. We've indicated to Rodney which form to look for. Now, mind you, we're not touching this. Joan's not doing it. Click on the Articles of Incorporation. And now the wizard guides Rodney through that entire process. And there's the final product. You've got this in the completed forms area, so you're able to bring it into your document management system. You can see it in completed forms out there on Net Client CS. You bring it into your office. You have control over that documentation. That's legal and business forms powered by Legal Street. Pretty cool. All right, the next area I want to illustrate is many firms have made great strides toward a paperless office and a digital workflow for tax processing. They're utilizing document management systems, they're utilizing portals, they're utilizing Practice CS to track the movement, the workflow of that tax return. But there have been areas where there have been holes. Now I'm going to walk through this. I realize this slide is very, very busy, so I'll walk through it slowly. This is our vision of the tax preparation workflow. And so on a year-round basis, the client would be able to capture information and put it in a secure cloud lockbox over the course of the year. At year-end, you get a questionnaire. Client fills out the questionnaire. You're able to capture all of that data, pull it into the tax return. You complete the tax return, and next you've got the signature request. After that point, client signs documents, invoice notification goes out, you get paid, tax return gets filed, client gets a tax return out on the portal, completely released. All right, what I'm going to illustrate right now is the signature portion of it. So I'll illustrate what we've got with respect to e-signatures this year. It's that last piece, the IRS, finally, with the use of what's referred to as KBA, knowledge-based authentication, all right, we're able to provide e-signatures, but it's got to have that dynamic KBA included here. So I'm going to illustrate that process with you. With the UltraTax release this year, this will be available. You'll have e-signature capabilities for the 8879 engagement letters and consent forms, and we're looking at a lot of other areas. For example, there may be situations where you want an electronic signature on, and you're doing the payroll for the end client as to what's accepted. All right, so what we're going to do is illustrate how that process works utilizing UltraTax CS. So we're going to send a message to Rodney that includes a copy of the return for Rodney's review and instructions for filing the 8879. So we go into UltraTax CS, we click on print here. So we've clicked on print. We go into the print menu, and what we're doing is we're creating an electronic file at the same time as we're creating a digital copy of the return to present to Rodney out on the portal. So we use Connect, put the return out to the portal, as well as the 8879. All right, you've automatically then, through that process, sent an email to Rodney with a link to everything he needs to do to sign the return. Now let's see how Rodney is able to do this. Remember, Rodney's your mobile client.
Hey, look at me, Daddy. I'm going higher than Mallory.
Your client, Rodney Miller, is enjoying some family time when he is notified by your email that his return is complete and that you need his signature to authorize you to e-file the return on his behalf. From the link, Rodney can review his tax return first, then electronically sign it. He first validates his identity per IRS requirements, then uses his finger, when prompted, to sign on screen. He takes a moment to review the signed 8879 and can then download these documents if desired. This whole exchange takes only a minute, and it doesn't even interrupt the flow of his normal day.
Let's go, Daddy.
Okay.
Come on, come on.
And now is that cool or what? Very convenient, very easy. You're working on Rodney's time with respect to his personal life here. Now you can easily review that return. We're going to show how the automated tracking works on the back end of this. So you automatically receive, once Rodney did that, an email that he's completed the 8879. And in UltraTax CS, we of course go into the electronic filing icon, and we can see Rodney has signed off on that return. We're ready to go. We're good to go. Totally complete. All right, next thing I want to illustrate to you is I'm going to talk about what we refer to as a working prototype now. Remember I talked about design. And we're going to utilize Rodney in this example as well and talk about the direction we're headed with respect to document management and talk about our future look. So we are now looking, as I said, at a working prototype. You'll be able to see this in the Innovation Lab, and we'd love to hear your comments about how this looks and feels. So we're now in the Staff Center. There'll be a similar client look here. Again, nice clean look. We'll go down and we'll work with Rodney in this example. So we're in our document management system. We go down, we select Rodney. We're going to look at that 8879 once again, as it would appear in this working prototype. There's the 8879. What other capabilities are we building into this prototype? By the way, we're constantly working on new technology, so we're constantly developing the next generation. In this example, Rodney sent us an email with a list of contributions on it, and we want to put it in our document management system. So we have an area in the DMS. We want to select Rodney here and get into correspondence. Select Rodney. And take a look at correspondence here. That's where we want to place it into our system. And there it is. There's the list of contributions from Rodney. We print it out there and we'll pull it up so you can see what it looks like. There's the correspondence. There's the charitable contributions PDF. Okay, what other capabilities do we have? Well, first of all, we have a download capability. Remember I mentioned those cloud-based services? We're integrating with Dropbox, Google Drive, probably looking at a couple of others, and we're bringing in a spreadsheet that's been updated by Rodney. We select that spreadsheet, and you're going to see it listed as the second item from the top, automatically brought in, and you saw the little pop-up on the bottom of the screen here. Right now, we're going to look at what types of things the firm might be doing, and we're going to look at our drag and drop capabilities. So the firm has some resume materials. You can see 3 resumes out there in a folder. We simply drag and drop that folder into our document management system. You can see the files have been uploaded if you look at the bottom of the screen. And we'll take a look at those resumes. That's a look at where we're going with document management. We think it's pretty exciting. We think you'll like the design of this. And by the way, our new designs we're looking at across all of our product lines. Certainly, Go System Tax is going to have a new refreshed look this year. Go File Room will as well. This is the direction we're headed, this simplification process. Right now, I want to just talk a little bit about this new net client on a year-round basis, and just in general, the direction we're headed here, give you a couple of screenshots as to what this might look like. First of all, we're building this year-round tax center or hub for your clients that'll be clean, very simple design, convenient connectivity, any device, anytime, drag and drop capabilities, the ability to upload from the hard drive, various storage systems like the example you saw, Google Drive, Dropbox, mobile device pictures. So as an example, your clients may be out at lunch, they've got a copy of a receipt they want to include in their year-round lockbox for you, or a letter indicating contributions. Just take a photo of it, load it up on an ongoing basis to their tax center, and it'll be available there, as I mentioned, year-round. Great clean look on any device, as I just mentioned, various tablets, Droid, Apple, iPhone, etc. Good, clean look across the board. Tax Center will guide the clients through that process. And again, you can see this nice, clean look. 1, 2, 3 steps. We realize what we're building with this type of product is the image that your clients will have of you. We want it clean, simple, and straightforward, which the new consumer expects. The year-end questionnaire will do the same thing. Drive the client through that process. It'll be simply 1, 2, 3. Here are the steps to complete your questionnaire. All right, let's wrap up today. So that's a look at our future direction. We all understand to remain relevant, we've got to be aligned with today's consumer. We need to connect with them on a regular basis, be part of their financial lives, and understand that we're there all the time. The world is like Rodney, that mobile-first consumer. Remember the words of Jack Welch. If the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. Now, change is obviously a choice. We can think about many examples where companies didn't stay abreast with the world of today. This is just a small sample. It's a choice. You can go down that path, or you can be a firm that operates of today. There are huge opportunities for firms that embrace strategies to manage today's consumer and understand how they want things from you. We believe there are tremendous opportunities there, and it's a differentiator for you, where your firm is different. You're connected. Technology is the ace, and Thomson-Reuters is your partner. I want to thank you for your attention this morning. Have a wonderful conference.